What I found out about Father Sam since he's been here, he's a very upbeat person. He sounds that way on the phone, but he's truly that way. Every time I call him, he said, Vanessa, what's going on? And I'll be like, I'm nothing, But by him talking to me, sometimes I forgot why I called him. And so I have to talk to him for a little while to ask him the question that I had to ask him. But when he got here, he's the same way. And I said, how you doing? He said, right now. And I said, yeah. He said, I'm doing recovery. So, he always has something that to make me smile. And with no further ado, I will just introduce to some and present to others Father Sam.
I'm an addict named Sam. First of all, I want to thank God for allowing me to be here. I don't have any reason to be alive. When I got here, I was spiritually dead. When I got here, I was so emotionally dead, I had no idea what it meant to feel anything. And when I got here, I was 3/4 of the way physically dead. And God, in God's grace and mercy, preserved me. I never could figure out why God let me live, because I did everything possible. I was too scared to ever take my own life, but I did everything possible, maybe some of that will come out in the story, to get somebody to do me the favor of taking me out of here. And nobody would ever do it. And it pissed me off that I couldn't get myself killed. And when I found y'all, you told me that, y'all explained to me that I did not have to die in order to get better. I thought the only way I would ever get out of my prison was through death. That's what I thought. And y'all told me we got a different way. We've got a better way, if you're willing to do the work that is required. And so God's been good to me, and I understand today why I'm alive and why God has preserved me. And that's for you and for me. The only thing I ever knew about Mobile, Alabama, before I came here, and somebody told me the name of the ship, but from history, from what I've read along the years, the only thing I ever knew about Mobile, Alabama was that this was the place where one of the last slave ships pulled in illegally in 1859 to deliver a cargo of human beings who had found it what is not far from here, Africa Town. I knew about that. And I stood yesterday and looked at the river that probably that ship sailed up. And for all I know, there are great-grandchildren of those human beings in this room right now, surely in this city or its environs right now, who are part of this fellowship. That's what I know. And I'm just thinking how marvelous and wonderful God is, that something as terrible, as inhuman, as disgraceful, sinful, perverted, sick, inside out, as that could happen on the same piece of land as this is happening this morning. That there are some human beings who are available this morning to any addict still in the chains of the slavery of addiction. And they're allowed to walk in this morning and find the very simple answer that will dissolve those chains and set them free. So congratulations, Mobile. Congratulations. I want to thank the committee for inviting me. I really never know how I get invited to these places, but I guess people pass my tapes around because I hear that they do, and I need to tell you before I begin, because just in case, every now and then God hits me, and when God hits me, I know I sound pretty good, but just in case God hits me and I sound pretty good, lest my head get too big. Let me explain to you before I go any deeper into this thing. I am a very, very sick individual. And there's a lot of bad habits. Thank you, Charlie. A lot of bad habits I don't practice today. But every tendency of every habit exists within me. They tell me my tape is everywhere. Honestly and truly, and I've shared this before, and it's still true this morning, I do not have enough self-esteem to listen to myself on tape. I don't mind y'all taping me. I don't mind y'all sending it around, but I can't listen to it. One time, a long time ago, I was in New York giving sharing in New York one time, and they gave me a tape, and I put it in a tape deck driving back to Baltimore, and then threw it out the window. I could not listen to my own voice. I do not have the self-esteem to do that. I was sitting in that pretty restaurant this morning, and late in recovery. If God is merciful to me and I live till June 17th, I will celebrate 18 years in this fellowship. And I don't tell you that because I know I ain't got any more than the newcomer who came in here for this convention, hoping that the thing works for him. I just tell you that to say this thing does work. And if you're willing to do as long as I'm willing to do what I'm told to do, because I can't make good decisions about myself, I will stay here. And the day I decide I got it, I'm on the way out of here. That's what I do know. But late in that recovery, and I'm sitting in that restaurant this morning thinking how pretty those salt and pepper shakers are. And I really ought to take a couple of them home with me. That I'm sure whatever y'all paid to put me up in a room here more than covered 3 or 4 salt shakers. They can spare them. That's what I think. I still think that. Now I ain't took them. But I thought, I ain't took them. But I thought about it. So I want you to know that before I go into this. I am still very capable. And I'm also in this story, I think will come out the fact, here's what I know, what I learned around here, is that you don't need to use drugs to die from the disease of addiction. Y'all hear that? You do not need to put a chemical in you to die from this disease. And God is so good that He has given us a program and each other. I never need to die from this disease. I got to die one day. I do not intend to die from this disease. And the reason I tell you that is I intend, as long as I got life, to show up. And I intend, as long as I've got life, if somebody calls me up, like Sweet Vanessa have been calling me up, say, would you come to Mobile on the 31st day of March? I look at my thing. If I'm able to find somebody to take my place for what I do, and I'm able to get away that weekend, yes, I will show up. And if they ask me in Baltimore to come here, there, the other place, and share some of my experiences, strengths, and hopes, yes, I will do that. Because what I have discovered in these years around here, as long as I do what I'm supposed to do, as long as I believe in the goodness of God, and as long as I understand that having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry the message to addicts and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. As a result of having had a spiritual awakening, something happened inside of me, and as a result of that, I got to tell you about it. As a result of that, if you ask me for my experience, if you ask me for my strength, if you ask me for my hope, if you ask me how I got here, I got to tell you about it. Because what I got is not mine. I did nothing. My predecessors gave me everything I have and said to me, Sam, now we got to move on. Please keep the door open because somebody's coming up behind you and feels as miserable and as hateful as you feel about yourself. So committee, congratulations and thank you for arranging this convention. These conventions are beautiful affairs. These conventions are beautiful. This convention is a beautiful convention. When I think of that old slave ship, and somebody done told me her name, and I forget what the name of that ship was, that sailed up this river in 1859, and I look around this room and see the miracle that God has produced from the dregs of the earth. Because I don't know about you, but that's where I was living. I was living in the dregs. I was living in hopelessness. I was living in misery. I did not like my own smell. I did not like my own look. I didn't like anything about me. And God reached down. And I look around this room and see what God has done. And we all look pretty good this morning. Got our hair fixed up and got some sweet smell on. And come to a big businessman hotel where they got elephants and statues and things around it. Ain't none of us carrying them out of the place. And that's right. Thank God. That's right. And the last time I heard, they say all the salt shakers are still in the restaurant this morning. And I didn't see any forks and knives coming out your back pocket at the restaurant today. Now look what God has done. Imagine the damage we could have done to Mobile 15 years ago if we ever called a convention and got together. That's right. Imagine what we could have done to old Adams Mark, 300 of us, if we ever hit the place when we were using. Can you imagine? That's right. There wouldn't be no sheets, no pillowcases, no nothing. There'd be the biggest market up around Riverwalk. We'd all have tables out there. Flea market of the year. Mobile, look what God has done for us. Look what God has done. I know how hard it was and is to put this thing together. Because I know you're dealing with addicts, and I know how I am and how hard I am to live with. So committee, congratulations, you went through. I know you've been through it. I know you've been through it. But because somebody was willing to pay the price, we're able to come together this morning and celebrate this new freedom, this new... I'm an old man. I never knew what it meant to be happy till I was an old man. I was 50 years old when I got serious about recovery. I was 8 years clean and 50 years old, and I'm living proof that you can get real clean and be real crazy. I mean, I didn't know nothing about no dumpster. I didn't know nothing about no eating out of garbage cans or lining up or losing job or none of that while I used. Every never and every not me and every animalistic behavior and every degradation, humiliation, shame, and disgrace came down on me clean, not treating the disease of addiction. So committee, thank you. Thank you for providing a place where we can share our stories with one another. Because all I know is that's how I began to get better. Somebody told my story. And I began to think, just maybe, if he can share that mess, just maybe someday I'll be able to say who I really am, and I'll be free. And thank God Almighty, I feel free this morning. I feel good this morning. I feel excited this morning. I am joyous this morning. You know something? I'm as excited about this thing this year, my 18th year, than I was the year I first showed up. I'm so excited and thrilled that every time I look at us, something wells up inside me, and I still don't have words to describe it. The book called it A Spiritual Awakening, because I found God in these rooms. Now, I need to tell you this. Now, I ain't going to talk real long, because I don't talk too long, because the fact is, I'm a liar, and I begin to lie after 45 minutes. If you look like, I'm going to tell you that. I'll tell you when to start time. I'm playing now. I ain't seriously sharing yet. But in about 3 minutes, I'm going to start. And when I do, I want somebody to watch that clock and start telling, because after 45 minutes, if you get into it with me, you know, I like a drama. I like a drama. It won't take me much. But truly, I'm more excited about what this thing can do now. And when I look at these little young brothers, this young brother told me he came around here when he was 19 years old. I said, oh my God, if I only knew at 19 what y'all explained to me at 50, how different. But then I understood I had to go through all I went through in order to get to where I am. And I don't know why God allowed somebody to get to where I am at 19. I had to wait till I was 50. I guess that's how hard-headed I am. So this program is a living miracle program. Thank you, Mobile, for keeping the door open. And thank you for letting me know if I ever wander from Baltimore on my way down wherever I'm going and I get in trouble, there will be a spot in Mobile where the door will be open and I can drop in and hear what I got to hear to go on for one more day. Thank you for taking a weekend and spending some long dollars to get this thing together. That's how important it is to us, that a newcomer can look at us and say, yeah, it's possible. God is good. I want to thank the speakers that went ahead of me in this convention, the main speaker, all the speakers, but particularly the main speakers who blessed me so deeply. Laverne, who on Friday night opened this thing up and our celebration up and let us know, clean or not, life shows up. Life does show, and it ain't always pretty. But when life shows up, I don't have to use. And I could resonate with that. You know, before I got here, I've had 3 heart attacks, been declared dead twice. My heart was stopped for 45 minutes at one time, the direct result of this disease. I've had 2 heart surgeries and 4 angioplasties. I've become insulin-dependent diabetic. I know I don't look that miserable, but that's how miserable I've been. I still feel pretty good. I've never found it necessary to use it. That all happened in recovery. And I've never found it necessary to use through all that. Thank you, Laverne, for sharing how you, one day at a time, live through life on life's terms. And Artie, I've always loved you, brother. And I've always admired you. When I came around there, I know you're a lot younger than I am. I heard you claim you're an old man, but, you know, I can't even hardly remember being that young. But I remember when I first came around here, you were already here. Now, I had been here for 8 years, not doing no work. Sick. And I remember when you first came, you was an NA freak. I mean, and you was a freak with this thing. If you had this thing down, you used to get that textbook and you read 3 lines and say a line or read 3 lines, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I learned how to begin the process by watching you. And I was blessed last night when you shared with us your journey and where you are. And if I hold on and stay real clear about this thing, even though I'm 60 years old, I'm still liable to grow up one day. Now, I'm 60 years old. 60 years old this year. I ain't grown up yet. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But I'm having a lot of fun finding out. And I found out that if I follow the principles of this program, I ain't going to die dirty. I'm going to die clean. I thank you for sharing that with me. In the workshops I was in, I heard some beautiful message. And now my job this morning is to take all that, kind of tie it up and present it before God and say, God, I know you've been with us. I know you were in Mobile the day that old ship sailed up the river. I know you've been in Mobile through all that went on in this place, in this Southland. I know you've been with us when we were out there using through all those years of manipulating, stealing, lying, cheating, tricking, and whatever we did to stay alive. I know you've always been there. I know you were there when somebody got some information and said, let's open the door and call it an NA meeting and try to figure this thing out. And I know you've been there as we've grown up. so that we're able to have now our third convention on the banks of that same river in this same city. You're a good and a mighty God. And so today we take all the information and all the experiences and all the strengths and all the hopes of all the addicts who have come here this weekend, and we raise them up before you and say, God, just touch it, that's all. Just give us the strength to hold on when we feel like giving up. Give us the power to stay here just one more day, just in case some addict is still walking around in the chain of the slavery of addiction, still has a habit, still is lost, still is stinking and afraid and dirty. Let them know that just for today, the same God who turned that slave ship around can turn around the disease of addiction. Let me tell you, I was sick a long time before I came. I understand how this first step says we were powerless over our addiction. In fact, when I heard that made sense. I knew. You see, I came here knowing I believed I had some power over drugs. I stopped using in 1982 because I got scared. Somebody in Trenton, New Jersey gave me some angel dust. I did not know what it is, and I do not know what it is today, and I do not have any intention to find it out. But somebody, and it was an undertaker. See, because I learned early on that with my bright looks, and I had no money, that if I could find an undertaker, a doctor, and a lawyer, I'd be all right. Because if they liked to get high, they had big money, and I could tap into it. I need to tell you this, and I'm going to tell you this only because y'all hear them call me Father Sam, and the reason is, and I'm going to tell you this because it's part of, you'll understand better my guilt and the struggle I went through to say I'm an addict. I'm a priest. I was a priest when I started using. I'm still a priest. I've been 35 years next month a priest, practicing priest. And they used to like to get high with this priest. Because they figured if the priest was there, some kind of way they might bless the package and the thing would be a good package. That's right. That's right. And they played me, and I played them, because I knew they had a pocket full of money. So I'd be steady blessing as long as they were producing. That's right. And they used to figure out, well, if the police bust in there. Now, we were getting high down in the embalming room of the undertaking shop. 6 dead people right in front of my eyes. 3 of them had died from the disease. I'm looking at this, and it's damn shame. These people is dead. They ain't as smart as me. I'm still like, roll me up another one of them things, so-and-so to go down and get high with, right? And they used to figure, well, if the police bust in here and the priest is down there, you know, we have an excuse, an explanation. He down there helping us, or blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I used to get high with lawyers, doctors, and priests, and undertakers. Anyway, this undertaker this day, to make a long story, to tell you how I got here, gave me some angel dust. He rolled it up with some weed, and we smoked that. He finished embalming these people. I didn't feel nothing. I said, well, why don't you give me, what is this thing? It don't do nothing for me. He said, well, you just wait. It takes a little while to take its effect. That's the best reefer you ever seen. Blah, blah, blah. A little silver powder. That's all I remember. So he gave me some in a little envelope. Say, take it home with you and, you know, mix it up with a little bit of weed or a little cocaine and put it together. You see what happens. Well, I got that thing home and I just rolled it up in a little tiny joint and I puffed that joint. Well, I got so high. I tore my clothes off. I remember thinking that there was wall flowers on the wallpaper. I thought the flowers was coming off the wallpaper, and I'm trying to pull the flowers off of me. I ran outside naked, and I remember there was rain and got real crazy. Well, I got so scared, I'd never touched nothing no more. That thing lasted for 3 months, 6 months. I used to get in my car. You know, New Jersey's full of those circles or roundabouts, they call them someplace. New Jersey's full of them. I remember getting on one in North Trenton, on old Route 1 in Trenton, New Jersey. I was working in Trenton and going around. I remember counting 52 times I did not know how to get off of the circle. I just kept going around and around. That was a month after I had smoked that. They would come like a wave. I remember going up the New Jersey Turnpike once, 4 miles an hour, and the police stopped me. And he said, "Sir, do you know you're going 4 miles an hour?" And I looked at him, I thought he was complimenting me. I said, "Well, thank you very much." I looked behind me, long line of cars lined up behind me. I went to church that Christmas, and I'm presiding over it. I used to have the nerve to stay up, run around all night, get good and hot, get up in the pulpit. I could preach up a storm when I was, if I was nice, I could seriously preach up. And I came in there, but I had not. Now this was 3 months after I had used that angel dust. I sat at the altar. I remember it was Christmas Eve night, midnight, and the choir was singing, the organ was playing. They had 2 candles on the altar. I'm sitting behind it. And I looked down there, and that candle looked like there was 4. Then it looked like there was 6 candles. And then there was like 12. And then I thought I was in the middle of a fire. And it sounded like the organ was getting louder and louder. And I remember getting up and running down the aisle of the church and running out the back door. My heart, was nothing wrong with my heart. I was high from that thing. Well, it got me scared. I never touched another drug. My addiction had been cut loose. I had nothing to feed it with. And so I learned painfully what animalistic level I would go to, being an active addict without a drug to put in him. Let me tell you how I got here. I have no happy memories as a child, none. The first time I've ever been happy has been in these rooms. When I met you for the first time, I felt like I belonged. I never thought I belonged anywhere and to anybody. Never. My earliest memory, it goes in and out. I was about 2 years old. We lived in the projects in Jersey City, New Jersey, across the street from a slaughterhouse. I was born in 1939. During World War II, they used to slaughter horses for meat. And we lived in the slaughterhouse, and my mother was pregnant. And she went and had a baby. The night she went to the hospital to have the baby, the horses escaped from the slaughterhouse. And I remember the slaughterhouse, horses screaming and blood coming out the back of the slaughterhouse. I remember seeing that. And I remember this night, the police cars, and they all had little red lights on top, running around trying to catch these horses who had escaped from the slaughterhouse. And an ambulance come and taking my mother to the hospital. And I remember thinking that she was leaving me. I didn't know anything about babies. Nobody ever told me they were going to have a baby. All I knew was she was going away. I remember that vividly. And they brought this baby home. And I remember, who is my brother today, and I remember thinking in my head, something must be wrong with me. That's why they went and had this baby. They're going to wait till they can grow it up, and then they're going to get rid of me. Or they try to take my mother like they take those horses. That's why I remember hating my father, because when I found out that babies came from men getting together with women, I found that out later. I hated him because I figured he tried to get her pregnant to get her taken away from me. That's what I thought. Did nobody tell me that? And I'm telling you that I was 2 years old. I was sick when I was 2 years old. I don't know how I got here. The book says we are not responsible for our disease, only for our recovery. As we begin to apply what we have learned, our lives begin to change for the better. I don't know how I got sick, but all I know is when I came here, I started to get better. That's what I do know. I have a sister. I call her my baby sister, my only sister. When she was about 3 years old, my father would come home from work every night and say, "Where's my baby girl?" And he'd pick up my little sister. He would dance around the room with her. And I remember my mother used to sew, and she'd have all these pretty dresses that she would iron. Those days, everything had to be ironed. She ironed all her pretty little dresses. They'd be lined up around the kitchen where she had. And my father come home and when I heard my father say, "Where's my baby girl? You're so pretty," and he would dance with her and touch her hair, I would hear him say, "Sam is ugly." He didn't say that. I heard him say, "Sam is ugly." I heard him say, when he said, "I want my baby girl," him saying, "I don't want this baby boy. This baby boy is in the way." Now, I came in here carrying some heavy secrets. And you taught me, and I believe this today, I know this, that I'm as sick as my deepest secret. And before 11:30 shows up this morning, I expect to be naked, because I do not carry secrets anymore. I fed her kerosene mixed with K-Rose syrup to kill her. I took that baby boy they brought 2 years before that and put him in the toilet to kill him. They were my memories. They framed my childhood. Whenever there was a happy day when I was a child, I thought it was because they were setting me up to send me away. I always thought I was going to be sent away. I always thought they were going to leave me. I always thought I was so ugly that anybody would kill his brother and try to kill his sister was too ugly to live with. And I used to think they only are pretending like they like me so I won't hurt them. But the first chance they get, they're going to get rid of me. Now, I don't know where I learned about murder, because when I was a baby, there was no radio, there was no television. But in my heart, I had that sown already. That's how sick I am. My childhood is filled with terrible memories. Whenever they had a nice Christmas, I thought it was because the day after Christmas was the day I was appointed to go away, or they were going to go away. That's what I thought. So when I went to school, I never did anything too well or too badly. I did not want my name called out. I did not, and I do not like the sound of my voice. I know my voice sounds all right to you. I can tell by your eyes, but to me it sounds terrible. But I go through it anyway, because I know this is the way I get better. I didn't come here to humiliate myself, to strip myself. I did not come here to tell you my lousy, terrible story. I did not come here to explain the intimate joy that I experienced today to make you feel good. I came here to strip and open myself and admit that I'm an addict in front of you in order that I might get a little bit better and understand something more about me and about God. This is a selfish thing. It's about me. I saw my mother have a miscarriage when I was 4 or 5 years old. I remember her hollering out, her in the bathroom, me running in there, seeing the blood. And I remember seeing my mother naked and figuring that I had seen something you're not allowed to see. And never spoke to anybody about that till I told you. And my mother's 84 years old today, and I love her dearly, but I cannot stay in a house with her for more than 3 days. Some feeling comes up of shame, disgrace, or I don't know what. I'm always trying to protect her from any kind of pain or trouble, and at the same time I don't want to be there. I don't want to be the protector, but I can't not be, and it's part of my illness. I know that. I've never been able to tell. I've always known that, but I've never been able to tell anybody that. I remember standing, I was a priest at my father's bedside as he died, wishing, why don't you hurry up and die? I needed to get out there to get high. I was getting high in those days, and he was taking too long to die. And I was expected to stand there. And I was going through the, hurry up, make this be the last breath. Why do you keep on breathing like that? Because I didn't like him. But I never could tell anybody that till I found you. So I jammed these things, and I lived in a shell, and I didn't let my name be known. And I remember 6 or 7 years old playing basketball, and I remember coming down to the court and shooting the ball, and it went right in through the basket like it's supposed to, and everybody laughed. And I discovered at that moment I had put the ball in the wrong goal. It was theirs, not mine. And they laughed. I am 60 years old. I have never bounced a basketball in public from then until this morning. I'm a sensitive, baby-feeling, filled-up individual who kept everything jammed up inside. When I was 10 or 12 or something like that, young. In the Boy Scouts, they had this initiation day, and it turned into a sexual thing. And I used to say that I was abused, but I realized that I have always been interested in the perverted. I had a deep interest in what that might feel like, look like. or whatever. If ever anything I ever heard, and to this day this is true. Somebody was kidding me the other day, telling me how to get back from a restaurant to this hotel by walking, and say, well, we know you're slow, we know how you are, so you walk on this street because that street is seedy, and you don't need to be on that street. Because if it's perverted, if it's sick, if it's freakish, inside out, upside down, Sam is interested. That's right. Now today I need to repeat, because this program works, I just don't do that today, but I would like to do that anytime I hear. So the day this thing turned up, they did to me what they did, and actually I like the feeling of it. I like the shame of it. I like the disgrace of it. I like the freakishness of it. But I couldn't tell nobody. And I'm a Catholic priest. And they say in this religion you got to go tell somebody. And if you come to the altar without telling somebody, you increase your sorrow, you increase your sin, you separate yourself further. I knew I wasn't telling nobody that I let these boys, they were young boys, 15, 16 years old, do this thing to me and like it. In fact, went back looking for more. I wasn't going to tell anybody that. Once too many, 1,000, never enough, they tell me. It's part of my sickness. I didn't know I had a sickness. So I start going to church every day, 6 o'clock, and running up to communion, knowing I was putting myself in hell, or believing I was at that moment, so you would not guess what I was hiding. I always had a fear that you might guess. So I never looked anybody in the eye or let anybody look in my eye. But I ran up there every morning and took that communion and ran back again. Figure, well, you're deeper in hell, but at least they won't know you're going to hell. And you've got to deal with God when you get over there, just like you deal with everybody else in the crisis. But in the meantime, look good. I got scared of my sexuality. I got confused. I didn't know what I liked or didn't like. I didn't know who I was or what I was. I heard they had some names for people who did what I allowed to be done. I did not like those names. So I jammed that down further and further. And my answer to that was, we'll go to a seminary, and you won't have to have no sex. And you wear a collar or long robe. They give you a title. They'll never guess how sick you are. So I did that. And I did whatever was required. I went there for 8 years in order to hide who I was. One day in the seminary, to get to how I got Narcotics Anonymous, one day in the seminary, there were 400 of us in those days in this room, and they used to get up every night and make a speech and say, we need people to do this and do that. And the head man got up that night and said, we need somebody to volunteer to go work in the Maryland Penitentiary. And I'm way in the back because I was a newcomer and this was 4 years, and we used to sit according to our rank of when you enter the place. I was way in the last row of the place. I had just come in. It was in September. They needed somebody to go. Didn't nobody put their hand up because nobody wanted to go work in the Maryland Penitentiary. I came in here with all these issues about sex with men. I came in here with, now I had never had, after that incident, I never took my clothes off in front of nobody after that. I got so frightened, so scared of my own self. Down deep in this hole, right? I'm sitting in the back saying, if I don't volunteer, they're going to know I got these issues because I heard of what went on in the penitentiary. And I was interested in what went on in a penitentiary, but I didn't want anybody to know that. So I sat in the back and kept my eyes down. They said, now the second time we need somebody to go in this patch. Now I got to put my hand up because if I don't, they're all going to know I got this issue. I always thought everybody was looking at me. I didn't understand till I got around here that I'm an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. I didn't know that. Y'all explained that to me. I used to think everybody in the world was interested in me, was watching me, had their eyes riveted on me. So now listen, I had never used. I was 21 years old. I did not know there was such a thing as narcotics. I did not know. I had heard, but I did not know what that could do. I did not drink because I watched people drink and they threw up, and I don't like to throw up because you're out of control when you throw up. And I figure if you ever get drunk, somebody can do something with you that you don't know about. You might get exposed, or you might tell them something that you don't want put out. So I didn't touch no, I didn't believe in that. I did not touch any kind of drink. And I went in this penitentiary, and one day, y'all are not from Maryland, so you don't know, but the old Baltimore Penitentiary, it is now gone. They tore it down, had what they call the South Wing, is where the people went who could not function in a population. You know, people who got caught raping people and killing people and crazy people in the penitentiary, South Wing. And there was a brother, he is now dead, lived in the end cell of the South Wing. He used to keep rats for pets. And when they would squeal, he would kill them because he didn't like anything that cried. And they say he got in there because he was having sex with his girlfriend and she cried, so he choked her, because that's what he did to things that made noise. And there was feces all over the walls of this cell. He stayed naked, and he used to piss in the corner, and it stunk, and he had a blanket up in front of the thing. And one day he said to me, they used to call me Deke. This was in the 60s now when Cotton Comes to Harlem was out. There's a character there named Deke. They used to call me Deke. He'd say, Deke, if you want to feel as good as I do, use this thing. It was cocaine, but I did not know what cocaine was. I don't know. That was a gentleman's drug in the 60s. There was no rocks, no crack, none of that. Plain old lady cocaine in those days. That's what it was. He had a whole thing of it. So he said he had a little brown envelope. I remember. He said, try this here. I said, what do you do with it? You put it in your nose. If you want to feel as good as I do. Here he's naked, shit on the wall, killing rats, locked up. If you want to feel as good as I do. And I take that thing, I did not know what it was. I had no idea where it came from. But I was so tied up, so committed to being accepted, no matter what the price. No matter what anybody told me I had to do, I would do in order to be accepted. And that took me to some degrading spots in my active addiction. Because if I thought I had to do it to be accepted by that group, and the more degenerate they were, the more crazy, freakish, animalistic they were, the more I needed to be accepted. I do not know, that's the nature of my disease, but I did not know that then. So I used this thing, but in the 1 minute, that thing worked inside me. I always remember that moment. You know, I spent 29 years chasing that moment. I remember that day. I never looked at a human being in the eye. When I put that thing, it hit my blood. Damn. I could not fight. I used to talk like I could fight. Hoping that it always got me over. And to this day, I cannot. But that day, I remember going in that penitentiary. Used to have a big column with a sign-in desk outside the control, outside the center. And on a blackboard, they used to have population. And every day they would change it. And on this day, they had 800. It was June 17th. I always remember it. My clean day is exactly the same day as the first day I used. June 17th. June 17th, 1961. And I was 21 years old. And they had a sign that said 857 men in this penitentiary. And I remember being there, always looking over my shoulder, scared. And I had a way of making you think I looked at you, but I never did. Scared that somebody would confront me and I'd have to do something not to look like a chump, because inside I knew I was a freak and a chump, but I didn't want anybody else to know that. And I figured if it ever came down to something, I'd really be in trouble. That I knew I was going to die, because I was going to perform. I was going to get into the caper and the drama, and I would die. That's what I knew. So I was always frightened, filled up, always had a headache, always tense when I walked into place. And one thing I learned in this fellowship is when I'm with you, I can relax, and I'm not worried about what's behind me. And I was sitting up there this morning, I think it was Vaughn, came in, he put his hands and he kind of massaged my shoulder. I said, oh, thank you, it felt so good. But because I remember when I would never let anybody touch me for fear of what they might find out about me. But this day, when I put in that cocaine, I remember thinking, looked everybody square in the eye, eyeball to eyeball. And under the power of the cocaine, I remember thinking, all 857, one by one or all together, I will take you this afternoon. I felt good. And that good feeling lasted all of 30 seconds till I had to go get some more. And I ran for 29 years. And I used and I used and I used. And I got some crazy definitions. I'd say, well, addicts are heroin users who put needles inside them. I do not do that, so therefore I am not an addict. I used to have a theory that said, you'll never be addicted as long as you don't use the same drug or combination thereof 7 days straight. So you got 5 days worth of cocaine, 2 days worth of pills combined with reefer. You'll be all right. You'll never get addicted. My third theory was you had to get clean on a Monday morning. Every Monday for 29 years, I stopped using. Every Monday morning. Every Monday night, I was high. I'd say, well, you can't get clean again until next Monday, so go get what you need for the next 7 days. And I lived by those things as if they were 2 and 2 makes 4, as if a complete fantasy land. I remember thinking trains were meant to ride in. Trains were not supposed to go to New York empty, without Sam in them. I used to run, I never used heroin. I would run to New York from Baltimore on the night train, 10:30 in the night, to go buy a package with somebody else's $1,000 with a Roman collar and a briefcase, and go up there, get out the train, get in the subway, the A train, Artie, and Penn. Take me out of here. Bring that thing back for other people to use and borrow. I used to steal money from church or whoever had money, wherever I could find money, to give to addicts. I never paid for what I used. People gave it to me. I was well supplied, but I would steal to give you money so you could get high. When I would go up there to obtain my cocaine, whatever they said, it just years upon years upon years of shame. I'd run up to New York most nights of the week, coming back 7 in the morning, get high, jump in church, do that thing. I used to walk down Greenmount Avenue, one of the most drug-infested things in all of America. Walk there with a long black robe and a Doberman pincer at my side, midnight. Clint Eastwood personality, living in this fantasy land. I'm a mafia connection. That's why I run to the other, like the word go out in the street. All kinds of sick fantasy. Develop it up, combinations, this and that going on. It was real sick, and then every time I would go to church, the shame and the guilt and the disgrace would pile up. And I constantly lied. I had people think I was interested. I was interested in anybody but me. But I had to make them think I was. Constantly lied. I remember doing wars, going to other people's country, hoping to get taken out of here as a hero. I was in Nicaragua during the Contra War. I remember they gave me a rifle. I was with the Sandinista troops. Went there to visit for 2 weeks, sitting in the cave, guarding some rifles. I did not know how to shoot. I can't kill rats on sticky paper. I'm there with a rifle, AK, somebody rifle. If they come, I'm standing at the door of this cave, waiting for this army to come. Open, they come and blow the cave up, and me, and they put in the newspaper, Father Sam, hero, down with the poor of the world in the middle of the revolution, give his life, and they bury me, and they'd never know all the shame, and they wouldn't know about the 19th Street down New York, and the sex with men and the sex with women, because sex and use and seem to go to, I don't know why they go together, but they in the same place, and if it was one, there had to be another one, and it was always turned into some kind of orgy. These are the 60s and the 70s, and no shame and no dignity, and they'll never know that if I can get blown away. I remember going to Guatemala when people was disappearing, hoping that I could disappear, and I was in El Salvador during that war, walking down the street in the middle of the night, always hoping, down Greenmount Avenue, New York, always hoping somebody would have the sense to shoot me and rob me and take me out of here, and they'd bury me and say nice things about me, and that would be the end of it, but none of that ever happened. And I got sicker and sicker and sicker. And every not me and every never came true. I'm going to tell you how sick I got. I stopped using 1982. Making runs all the way. I used to make runs up to 19th Street in New York because I liked it, because I knew you would get stuck up, and I liked to get stuck up. I used to like to feel the thrill of a pistol on the back of my neck. I used to like to talk my way out of that. I got a thrill out of that. I got sicker than sick. I remember going up there with a whole bunch of Jamaicans I used to buy cocaine from, and no longer interested in cocaine, but they was interested in me because I was pretty. I was young then. I was white. I was Italian. I was pretty. And allowing them to do anything. I remember them saying, I come to call up old Dirty Rick or somebody, whatever his name is, I find the telephone number, come up out the hole, call me from the bar on the corner at us, and so, yeah, go over here, yes, okay, walk up to the 4th floor, they're going to pat you down and see that you ain't a police. I don't even know why I'm going up there to buy something to carry back to somebody else in Baltimore. Right? Get up to the 5th floor, you go in the back apartment, the door's open, go there, take your shit off, somebody will come in there and see if you're all right, and then walk up to the 6th floor naked, we open the door, let you in, you give the money to the man on the 3rd, 18,000, me running around like a little trained rat, doing everything they told me to do, because I like the thrill of it. I like the sense when I put my clothes back on, have my little package in my hand and a Bible in the other hand, walking down the street, getting in the train, coming out in Baltimore. I used to like that. I used to fly over there to Germany, to Turkey, to Sweden, bring back hashish, this, that, something else, all the while not using. Wound up in San Francisco, tied up in chains, slings, electric rods, some of this. If they said it was weird, I went to find, yeah, try that out on me. I don't have no parameters. You can do anything to me you want. See, I'm an addict, active addict. The thing is burning. A monkey had grown into a gorilla. He moved from my back into my spirit. He had my soul in his grip. And all he had to do was stick me, stab me, tickle me, push me, or look at me. I said, yes, sir, whatever it is you want me to do. The shame. No sleep. I was telling them last night, sleeping in this hotel between sheets, air conditioning. I never used to get in a bed. I always had this thing, maybe you got to run. I always slept on top of a bed, underneath a sleeping bag, with all my clothes on in case I had to get out of there right away. I'd sleep for 1 hour and wake up for fear that you were talking about me. They're on the phone. They got my number. They know what I've been doing. They handed me in. Newspaper. There were priests going away for this, and I'd done everything they'd done plus more. They hadn't even thought of some of the things I did. They was arresting them. I remember them getting involved in a whole cocaine deal. Some guy not so long ago, Christmas Eve night, a preacher got into some deal. The kids shot him anyway because he owed the kids some money. This dealer shot the preacher. It was all in the newspaper. Should have been me 5,000 times over, but it wasn't. So the monkey had grown to go into a gorilla. The disease owned me. I was the most obedient slave in all the world. Please don't hurt me. And then, one July, hot in Baltimore, just like gets in Mobile, hot and humid. Hot and humid. They were out in the street, people in the street. Somebody said to me, Father Sam, can we bring a meeting up your church? I was pastoring the church. Now, in the meantime, I pastored the church all the while. I lived 2-3 lives. You know, I remember being in Sweden somewhere tricking one night. And it was good. And I remember telling this lady, I remember in the middle of this thing, saying, oh, praise the Lord. And oh, no, that's the wrong thing. That belonged in the church. I had 14,000 masks. I used to forget what mask I was wearing sometimes. I had begun to lose my mind. I say, yeah, I'm always, besides all that I explained to you, I'm also codependent. Yeah, y'all can come up there and have a little meeting. Now, I used to run drug program. I ran Excel in Baltimore, therapeutic community. I used to run the program. I get high every morning. Go in there, I used to get on the floor and clean the cracks with toothbrushes. make them wear diapers and signs and shave heads and all that, because I thought they were hopeless addicts. They got caught. They came out of the court. They were heroin users. I used to have this thing. I was always better than arrogant. They the addicts. I just used a little bit. Running programs. So I let them in the church. They sat in the back. And at first I thought, these people are really sick, seriously ill, to come in here and tell this story. And I believe the stories were true. One addict knows another one. Y'all know if I'm lying or making it up or not. You can feel it. We feel each other's guts. You know, hey, none of us, we'd all have been dead if we weren't good, intuitive people. You know, we knew who to manipulate and who not to manipulate. We knew when to lie and just run away. We knew the difference. That's why we're alive. Bad addicts are all dead or locked up. We out here because we got some sense inside us, right? So I sat in there and I knew they were telling the truth. I say, damn, these people must really be sick, telling those nasty stories on their cells. Thank God I'm stronger than them. I don't have to tell that about me. I stopped on my own. By now I had not used for 8 years, but I was jumping in planes, doing all those sick things I just told you about. But I wasn't using, so I thought I was better than. And then I remember thinking, well, they like me. You know, I'd run around the country, collect money for the poor. I always had money in my pocket. I remember IBM one time gave me a check for $100,000. And I thought I'd be generous, so I gave $1,000 to the poor box. And in 1 month, all the rest, $100,000, everybody in Baltimore, we had a party all month long. Took care of the poor. I remember stealing that money. And I remember thinking in this meeting, they passing the basket same way as I used to pass the basket. It's a scam. They got them up in the air. They signing them papers. If they don't sign them, they go into jail. So it's a scam. They got to put something in the bag. And probably that brother up front running to me, he watching the basket. If they don't put the right in, he ain't going to sign that paper. Now I understand. That's what I thought when I first brought it in there. But you know, I sat in the back of that room, and every Sunday people come in, they would hug me. And at first I didn't like that, but then I started to like that. But maybe these people really like me, but I never could tell them. If I ever tell them what they call me, Father Sam, run the church with the church bell and the steeple, or I ever say I'm an addict. So I just sat in the back, and y'all loved me long enough till I started to love myself. And in the story, I started to hear my story. I remember a brother got up, and he's still with us, thank God. He remember talking about trying to kill his baby brother. I remember men getting up and saying, yeah, I had sex with these men above us. Damn, maybe you can say that and still live. A little spark of hope started to shine. Just maybe, Sam, someday you'll get the courage. Just maybe someday you'll get the nerve. Do you think you could ever get honest enough to begin to live? I began to think it was possible if I ever trusted God enough. And I just sat in the back and I listened for a whole year. I never said anything. I just listened. And then one day on a February, and it iced and it snowed, and only 6 people showed up to the meeting. We have a step meeting at a Tuesday night at 8:30. Didn't nobody show up, so they turned it into a round robin. And there was a brother in there who's a grand sponsor of some people in here, and he said to me, I passed this thing to Father Sam. Now, he knew me. When he was a kid, I was walking down Greenmount Avenue with my long black robe, high as a kite in the Doberman pinch in the middle of the night, thinking nobody knew what I was doing. And God came down on me that night. Now, I'm supposed to be the expert in God. See, once too many thousand, never enough. I went to seminary, did what they told me. I got a doctorate in theology. I learned how to talk 6 languages. I used to go around the world and speak on God and sit down with imams and rabbis and tantur in Israel for 7 years, 30 months 30 days every year, and study the scripture and the different religious traditions. And I knew how to chant, and I could pray in Old Slavonic, and I learned Spanish like I could talk English, and I could sing in Latin, and I could read in Greek, and I could read some Hebrew, and I had books everywhere around the house, talk all about God, and enough papers to wallpaper the wall, and I had a chair of theology at Loyola College, always speaking about God, and I knew a whole lot about God, but I had never humbled myself to kneel down and look eye to eye inside my spirit where God all the time was living, and see the reflection of God and begin to live that. I did not know about that. But this night, when this brother said, I pass it to Father Sam, something happened inside. All of a sudden, all the books and all the title and all the reputation and all that I knew about God didn't make any difference whatsoever. And it came a light that said, tell them who you really are. If you only tell them who you really are, you're going to be able to stand up on your feet and walk with dignity before you lay down and they close your eyes in the grave. I remember that night saying, I'm an addict and my name is Sam. And as soon as I said it, I began to get better. Pretty soon, I began to move up closer in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. I began to listen to the step meetings. I began to listen to those who held me and hugged me every Sunday night when I came in. They gave me 12 steps and they gave me 12 traditions. They gave me some building blocks. Say, Sam, you don't need to destroy anymore. You don't need to lie anymore. You don't need to tear down anymore. We're going to give you some tools, and you're going to be able to really help somebody from the bottom of your heart. And the way you're going to do that is by stripping off all your masks, getting down butt naked. Let them look wherever it is. Share your story. Give them some hope. Let them lean on you. I'm going to give you some strength. Give you 2 hands, not to tear down with, but to build somebody up. And you gave me some principles. And my life began to get turned around. I began to be able to say who it is I really am and where it was that I went. I began to be able to describe what it feels like to crawl in the muck like a worm or a snake. I began to be able to admit that, yeah, I stink real bad. But thank you for showing me the way to the shower and to the bath of life where I can clean myself up. Thank you for giving me enough principles to be able to put your arms around somebody. I don't have the answer to this thing. But all I know is I'll hold on to you. Just like they held on to me. You got the sense to understand that all the while God's been hanging on to you. See, on all those trips to New York, and in all those secret back rooms and basements, and all those chains and schemes, and when I found out that I was addicted to the thrill, not so much to the drug as to the thrill of the getting. I was addicted to the lifestyle. I liked the street. I liked rat holes. I liked garbage cans. I liked filth and dirt and degradation, and because I didn't like me. And I thought that I was supposed to be punished. I thought life was supposed to whip me. I thought I had to whip myself, and nobody else had the sense to whip my ass, that I could break my own self down. That's what I used to believe. And now you gave me some principles to live by. God's been good to me. God's been good to me. See, I don't look for God in the textbooks anymore. And I don't look for God in the theology books anymore. And I don't look for God in the Bible, Quran, or Bhagavad Gita, or any sacred book. They're all beautiful. They all have their place. They belong to people, supposed to be in the hands and the lips of people who have met God inside, developed a spirituality. Then if you feel like it and God leads you there, you go practice it in a religion. But first of all, I understand the altar and the pulpit ain't going to do me no good unless I'm in these rooms on every other night of the week. That's what I understand. I am an addict. I don't act like an addict. I am an addict. It's inside me. I ain't had nothing to do with getting it there. But I got something to do with getting it under control. "18 years of being clean. Almost, don't let me lie. 17 years, 9 months, and 2 days of being clean. 10 years of recovery. And slowly I've learned to like me. I like me today. All the things I told you about me, I claim them all. I used to be deathly afraid it was going to get out there because newspapers like to write about priests, but in them things. I don't give a damn. You can tell all the newspaper, call the Pope if you want. I give you the Cardinal's phone number up there in Baltimore. Yeah, Sam said I did all that. Cardinal, I only had an hour. I know my time is coming near now. I'm going to start to lie. So at 25 after 11, I knew I was starting to lie. I didn't have a chance to tell them the rest of there's more than that. That's only the topping. It go deeper. Gets more filthy, but if you give me another half hour, I'll tell you the whole story. Yeah, I claim it all. It's me. But guess what? There's something inside me greater than that spirit who brought me down that low. Somebody lives in me. I met that higher power I choose to call God in you. When I sat in that room and I said, my name is Sam, I looked in your face and I saw something I had never seen before. I saw the very face of God. I saw in you. You're not my higher power, but you reflect my higher power. You are the mirror that I look into. And when I look into your face, I see me. And I came to understand God lives in me. In myself is where God is to be found. And when I found God, there came the freedom. Listen, y'all, God's been good to me. God done led me through 3, 4 lives and deaths. And has given me, I've had one lifetime, but 5 or 6 lives in that one lifetime. God's been good to me. See, I've been everywhere in the world and never got hardly anything. In fact, I brought a lot of destruction and took something away wherever I went. But y'all brought me to Mobile, Alabama. And I was able in Mobile, Alabama to leave something of me behind and not take with me something that I don't have any business putting my hands on. But what I'm taking home with me is your love, is your recovery, is your strength, is your hope, is your experience. God's been good to me. I travel around now and I get free and I get happy and I get joyous. Now the old gorilla ain't dead. I've been crazy enough to rattle his cage every now and then. And he let me know that he's always ready. Yes, sir. That as soon as I got him figured out, he's baffling. He got another aspect I never thought of before. As soon as I think he's laying down, he turns up to be insidious. And that means he never sits down, always standing up. He's always ready. As I open the cage just a little bit, boom, he's ready to come on out and get me. And he's cunning. He lay in the corner just so pretty, with his hands crossed his chest just like he's dead. R.I.P. written on his forehead. He's cunning. And as soon as I say the prayer over him and commit him to the earth, boy, he's ready. He done crawled out through the crack of the casket, ready to get me on the other side. This disease is alive and well inside me. I never drive up the New Jersey Turnpike without thinking sticking up the toll booth. I always see her with all that money. I say, damn, all I need is a pistol. I still every now and then find myself opening the city paper to the page, say, the wild side. And running down the column to see if there's anything in there just might pique my interest. That's right. He's very much alive inside me. I'm going to shut down in a few seconds because if I stand up much longer, I know me, I am going to lie. I'm going to dress it up, blow it up, or diminish it to center myself even a little bit better. There is no model. I'm reading from the basic text now in the chapter called We Do Recover. For the recovering addict. When the drugs go and the addict works the program, wonderful things happen. Lost dreams awaken and new possibilities arise. See, he would have me believe that all the dreams are dead. You're too old now, son. And there are no more possibilities. Our willingness to grow spiritually keeps us buoyant. As I shut this thing down, y'all, you look at this old white hair. And they got a shiny spot up there at the top. And I ain't wearing these shoes because they in style. They call orthopedic shoes because my bones don't work like they supposed to. And when I get done out of here, I'm going to go upstairs and take a shower because my heart don't work right. And I got diabetes and I sweat just like a pig. I don't know if pigs sweat enough, but they say they do. So I'm sweating like they say the pig sweats. I'm an old man, y'all. But I'm willing to grow spiritually. I'm willing to come to Mobile and sit down with somebody been here 3 days, say, please, brother, teach me how it is to come in 2000, because I don't remember. I never lived through what you lived through. What I lived through was different. Thank God, I don't know what I would do if I ever put in me what some of y'all done put in you. Because they tell me this stuff they got out here now is really something. Well, they got you crawling around in 3 months on the floor looking for rat shit to put in an old pipe somewhere. I don't have that. I don't remember that, y'all. See, but I'm willing to sit down and listen how it is to look for rat shit and think it's crack cocaine. I'm willing to hear that story. I want you to put your arms around me and say, I'd like to have what you have here. Hold on to me as long as you need to. Guess what? I may be an old man, but I'm still buoyant. I'm still able to jump around a little bit and get the adrenaline running in me when I think of where God has brought me from, when I think of where I used to live and where I am today. When I look into your eye and into your face and I see that smile of hope come across your lips, I know that my God is God and everything is just the way it's supposed to be. They can send as many slave ships as they feel like it up the old river. My God is able to take a slave ship and turn her into Adam's Mark Hotel where there is freedom and joy and hope for a suffering addict. Mobile, please keep the door open. Please, somebody's out there don't know what we know. Please, whatever the trouble, just hold out. It may take 500 years, but God's going to destroy this thing. This gorilla's death sentence has been given, and he's on death row. Please keep the door open. Please keep hope alive. Mobile, This is a time to build, not to destroy. It's real simple, not easy. We got to put up with each other. We got to put up with ourselves. But those principles will get us through. Thanks for letting me share.